Up next on Beyond the Clef, I have Dr. Tim, and we're going to be talking a little bit about him, and then he reversed the roles and started asking me questions because that's the kind of guy he is. That's coming up next on Beyond the Clef.
Thank you. Enjoy.
Beyond the Clef is presented by Director's Choice.
All right, so here I am with the man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah, hardly, but go ahead.
Dr. Lautzenheiser.
Good.
And of course, you are known more affectionately in the community as Dr. Tim.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on the program.
Thank you for asking me to do this. I'm jazzed about this.
Yeah, since I've started this, I've always wanted to get you on, and I'm so glad that we got to make this work. And I know you have a busy schedule here, and I told you before the program, I'm a little starstruck.
Why?
It's just so great to see you in person, to be able to talk to you.
That's why I said call my wife, and she'll go, you can't even remember to take the garbage out. Starstruck my...
Well, let me ask you first, how did Dr. Tim come about? When did people start doing that? Because you weren't born Dr. Tim, were you?
I don't think so. I don't think my mother, she still doesn't understand. I was a band director, college band director for 10 years. And then I started working for an organization called Bands of America. And it was really an accident. They had a bunch of kids there, and somebody was going to work with the flags and the brass and blah, blah, blah. And the plane that was bringing those clinicians in, did not show up. And so my boss at that time, Larry McCormick, great guy, said, we got to do something with these kids. We got to, corral them for 3 hours at least. Go talk to them. And I'm like, fiddly-dee, And then, and it was great. And after that, then some of the directors that were there said, would you come to my school and do that? And then it just kind of exploded.
It blew up.
Yeah.
Well, now it seems like everybody I talk to is like, oh yeah, I'm having Dr. Tim come out, and having here and there, and it's a big blast in the region. Ooh, Dr. Tim's coming out. We ought to go see him. So, like I said, you're kind of legendary now.
Just old. You've been around a long time, man. People know.
Well, let me ask you. A lot of people get to hear you talk.
How do you say your name?
My name's Beal.
Okay. Put the whole thing together with your
David
middle
Beal.
name.
David Bishop Beal, actually.
That's neat. What's the Bishop? Is it a family name or something?
It is. It's my great-grandmother's name, or my grandmother's maiden name. It's her family name.
That is so cool.
Yeah. I don't usually get interviewed on my end.
No, but I just think that's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're big on the family name,
Yeah, not many Lautzenheisers around.
Well, there's not many Beals around. There are a couple.
What's the nationality?
Prussian.
Seriously?
Yeah, German Prussian. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is your middle name? Let's turn it back on you because nobody cares about me.
No, they do.
Neil.
They do, David. But we're probably, that's where my family's from.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the ancestors, that part of Germany.
Well, we need to put our family trees next to each other and see if they
We may
line
be
up.
cousins for all you know.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm here with my great-great-great-cousin, nephew's son, something.
Whatever, yeah.
Back down the tree.
16th.
Yeah. Well, tell me about your story.
Attitude concepts of the leadership thing. When we started in 1981, it was actually when I left Bands of America, I was headed back to band directing again because I missed the kids, and making music and all that sort of thing. And then this thing kind of exploded, and then it led to would you come and speak at the convention? Would you talk about student leadership? And now, student leadership's a cottage industry now. There's lots of people doing it,
right?
Which is good, yeah.
Right.
It's healthy, yeah. So that's the story.
Okay.
There's not much more than that.
Well, what about you? You're back in. So you're, I think, known as a percussionist. Is that what they call them?
You're very kind. You're very kind, yeah.
Well, we're actually lucky right now. So we're filming SMSC 2019, and we don't have any percussions around us, but we definitely have saxophones over there.
I can hear those
that have been
puppies.
harassing us. There's a bass sax that's been harassing us all weekend.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we gotta go to try one of those. Yeah. So tell me about growing up and your band experience, your life experience.
Well, you're very kind, David. It was a very small school. I don't know, 40 in our graduating class. Band was terrible. 17 or 18 in the band. It was horrible. Went to college.
And where did you grow up?
In Indiana. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little town called Bluffton.
Okay.
And then went to college at Ball State University because that's where you went to learn to be a band director. Was way in over my head. Because, there was people there, David, that had taken theory and ear training and everything, and I'm like, good Lord, I better go home and start getting my dad's upholstery shop. And it just, I don't know, it's part of you. Didn't it get to be part of you? It's just your fabric as band, yeah?
Right.
And you, I don't know, she's with you all the time. She keeps pulling you back, yeah? Yeah, so that was it. And then,
And where did you go first jobs, and where did you start
my
at?
first job was at Northern Michigan University in Marquette, in the Upper Penn. Great people. Oh my God, great people. And then I went to the University of Missouri in Columbia, Mizzou Tigers. And then my last job was at New Mexico State University in Las Cruces. Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't keep a job. I just tease him.
And so now, you do have your side company. It was Attitude
Concepts, yeah.
Right. Where can people find more information about that?
Google Attitude Concepts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't advertise. So.
Yeah. So, let's talk about some influential people in your life.
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
It's hard. It's kind of like the Academy Awards. You don't.
Yeah. You don't want to leave anybody out. Yeah.
But tell me maybe a story about somebody who really affected you and shaped who you are and why.
Probably. Well, my parents were both musically inclined. Particularly my mom. She's got perfect pitch. She can sit down at the piano and play any tune in any key in any style, and she can't read a note of music. She taught tap dancing for, you ready, 72 years.
Wow.
In our little community.
Wow.
So certainly mom and dad both. College band director clearly, was influence. High school choir teacher. We had a great choir, and that's goofy. Little country school, and then our choir had like 182 people.
Why do you think that was?
Her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was her. I mean, it's totally her. They didn't even they have a very small choir now at the same. It was her. She was magic. Miss Sellers was magic. So, those people particularly. And then, when you get into the profession, you run into the icons, so there's a lot of those that, Paula Kreider, who is my adopted sister. I mean, gosh, she's great. There's just so many, yeah.
Who is Paula Kreider for the audience members?
Paula Kreider is Miss Band, all right. She was the band director at University of Texas, and she's now she's all over the world doing clinics and everything. She's brilliant, yeah.
Well, let me ask you one of these goofy interview questions.
Sure.
If you could meet one person, maybe out in the world today, who would you like to meet? A lot of people want to meet you. I saw you walking down the aisle here, and you couldn't make it 10 feet without someone coming up and shaking your hand.
That's nice, thank you.
I was at lunch, actually, let me interrupt you, and someone referred to you as the most famous band director there is.
Oh, good Lord. Well, that was a naive person, whoever said that.
If you can meet one person, who do you think you'd like to meet?
Well, that's a great question. Maybe Sousa. Wouldn't that be cool? John Philip Sousa, him. And I get to meet a lot of people I want to meet. I mean, the colonels of the, one of my own students was the director of the Air Force Band in D.C., and I mean, those are the trophies, yeah?
Right.
The trophies are the students. And
we had Colonel Thomas Palmatier.
Tom, he's
here.
Great.
And he actually spent the day at my school and working with us, and it was...
Kids loved him, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. It was fantastic. It was a cool experience.
How'd you get him in there?
And it was lucky from somebody that I knew, a friend of it, and we got in, and he said he's going to be in our area, and so we said, hey, you want to add an extra day on your trip and come down? And
it's all relationships.
It was a pretty magical experience
for
our
whole
kids.
Key is relationships.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Who would you want to? Come on.
Dr. Tim.
No, come on.
All the people that I get to meet, all the cool things.
No, but anybody, ever, who would it be?
Now you're putting me on the spot.
Nah, it's going to be music.
Break point. Anybody ever? I'm a big Star Wars fan. It'd be really cool to meet George Lucas.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of interviews and talk about stuff, but it'd be cool to kind of sit down and talk to somebody like that and just talk about some of his ideas and what it was like to start this thing that kind of was magical and was special at the time.
One person makes a difference.
Yeah, it does.
Well, he sure has.
Person. Yeah, sure.
Wouldn't that be neat to talk to those, like, I don't know, Einstein or
right.
The people who leveraged their brilliance to change the world. Man.
Yeah.
service.
I think it's interesting when you talk to those people like the World War II people. You know what I mean? World War II, and you go into Churchill and like what he had to do to keep a country together. In the face of
if he hadn't made those decisions,
right, we'd be
back in Germany again, or be Germans again, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, what do you do when you're not going out and being Dr. Tim? What are your hobbies? What do you enjoy doing? We actually talked right beforehand about watches.
Well, yeah, I do have a watch fetish.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my wife. You know what? I don't vacate. I don't vacation because what I do is so much fun. I mean, I really don't. I love to do what I do. And being with people, I mean, just hanging out with you, David, and Chris over there working. And I would rather be doing a workshop or being with kids or anything than sitting on a beach. I tell you a good story. My wife and I think the last time we went on vacation was about 35 years ago, yeah. And we went to Cancun or some goofy place like that. I spent my air miles. We're supposed to be there 5 days, yeah. And the third day, I was sitting out on the beach thing, and Andrea comes up and she goes, I've arranged for us to fly home tonight. I said, we got 2 more days, kid. She goes, you're making lists in the sand. She said, you're miserable. So we went home.
Tell me about your wife.
Oh, Andrea? Oh. Andrea and I went first grade together.
Wow.
Yeah, hometown girl.
Wow.
Went first grade. She's brilliant. She was a big deal in the Association for Retarded Citizens. She's a giver. She's an angel. I love her more now than I ever have. She's given her life to making sure we could do what we want to do, and her heart is gold. She's a saint. If she doesn't make it in, nobody's going to get in.
How many years have you been married?
I don't know. I have to call her that. But I mean, we started when we were 6.
Okay.
So I'm 72 now to be, 66 years we've known each other.
Wow.
Now, there was other marriages in there before we got back together, but
okay.
But she's always been a gem. Are you married?
I am.
Kids?
Not yet.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah.
How long have you been married?
7 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Where'd you meet your wife?
At Texas Tech, in the music school.
Alan Shin.
He's one of the professors. Yeah, the professional.
He's one of my kids.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Was Chris around when you were there? His wife? Or had she passed by then?
Yeah, she was. She did pass.
Chris was in the studio too.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, they're great kids.
Yeah.
That was at Mizzou. They were at Mizzou.
Yeah, I just saw him at a wedding last weekend. Yeah, he's a
one
great
of the
guy.
neatest kids I've ever. They're always your kids, yeah?
Yeah, they are. I'm starting to get that way. My assistant is one of my former students.
Okay, well then you know that.
Yeah, it makes you feel old.
Yeah. Boy, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, you were at who was the band director then at Tech when you were there?
So it was
Cody?
Sorry, now I'm dating myself. There was a transition. Cody Birdwell.
Cody was first.
And then Gary Lewis was interim.
Gary came.
And then Dr. Sarah McCoyne.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Bang, bang, bang. You hit the jackpot there.
Yeah. It was a good time.
Why'd you go to Tech?
I went to the band camp.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah. So and this past year was my 20th year at the camp.
Seriously?
Yeah, I've been consecutively for 20 years as a camper, and now I would say I'm one of the principals at the camp.
That's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a fun
Now,
time.
when you look back, David, you go 20 years. It doesn't seem like 20 years, though, does it?
Oh, no.
No.
Well, that's definitely over half my life
It's last
so
summer.
far, but it was a little kid back then. Does it seem that way to you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. You know, everything's, yeah. When I go, I've been teaching 50 years. I'm like, no way. And then I look in the mirror and I go, who in the devil is that old man, right? It was my dad, right?
Right. Well, when you get up and talk, and I've seen you talk in front of thousands of people, what's on your mind? What's your mission when you get up and talk? And do you have speech A, B, C, D, and E, or you just kind of start going? And what are you trying to accomplish there?
I'm a charlatan. I'm not a public speaker. That's the number one fear of human beings, is public speaking.
I think Jerry Seinfeld put it really well. He said, number one fear, is public speaking. Number 2 fear is death. So you would rather be in the casket than be giving the
absolutely.
eulogy.
No question. Because an audience can attack. I mean, you can feel it, right? Even like in a band rehearsal, can't you feel it when you're not connecting? So I'm more of a storyteller, I think.
Tell me a story.
Oh, what kind of story do you want to hear? I got all kinds of good ones.
Tell our audience the story that we don't necessarily get to hear all the time when we get to see you at convention.
Okay, here's one. Now this is name dropping too. So no,
that's great. There's no water here.
No, I'm fine. My wife, we have a place on Mackinac Island up in Michigan.
Okay.
And so when we were looking for a place, because I'm out all summer and doing goofy stuff like we're doing right now, I had one day off and she had a place she wanted to look at. So I said, okay, I'll fly up and we'll go up. And it's cold up there because, my first job was in northern Michigan. So I'm like, bring a jacket. And the point of the story is how our ego can get in the way. Yeah. So she brings the jacket. She brought my Blue Devils jacket. Right, and I get to work with them, which is the coolest thing in the world. And so we go in the little hotel there, and the girl's going like, she looks up, and the girl goes, Dr. Tim. Now, if there's anybody, David, you want to impress, it's your spouse, because they know all the bumps, right?
Yeah.
They've seen you at your very worst.
Right.
And I'm like, Andrea, did you hear that? Andrea's rolling her eyes, right? And so the girl, I said, well, there's lots of Dr. Tim. She goes, no, the leadership, man. Andrea. She goes, Dr. Tim, you changed my life. And I'm like, Andrea, did you hear that? And Andrea she said, oh, can we get our picture taken together? Andrea, you never want your picture taken, right? And then she looked at it, she goes, oh my God, she got Blue Devils. She goes, show my jacket. She goes, you know the Blue Devils? I said, uh-huh. She goes, no. Do you know them? I said, yeah, I get to work with them. They're great kids. Oh my God, she said, I love them. She goes, take your stuff up and come back and we'll get our picture taken. So I'm and so we go back, and I said, "You ready to get the picture taken?" She goes, "Sure." She goes, "Where's your jacket?" I'd left it up in the room, and I said, "Oh, you want the jacket in the picture?" Now my wife's eyebrows going up like. So we get down. We're trying, and the little girl, she was such a sweetheart. She kept pulling the jacket over. So, and her name was Melissa. I remember her name. And I said, Melissa, I have a great idea. I said, why don't you wear the jacket, and I'll take a picture of you with the jacket on. She goes, that's the best idea yet. Had nothing to do with me. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? Just when you think,
Yeah.
One leg at a time. Yeah, one leg at a
Just
time.
like everybody else.
Oh God, yes.
All right. Tell me an experience of maybe one of your worst audiences, or a situation where you kind of started to bomb a little bit. Because you're a storyteller, just like a comedian, but sometimes an audience, I'm sure you've had a bad one.
The one, I can't remember a bad one. I can remember some that are better than others. I think the scariest one was, I was speaking at a convention that I thought were administrators, at school administrators, and it was school, like janitors and people who run the field. And
oh, wow.
And I got there and I went, they got their belts on with the hammers and all that sort of thing, and I'm like, so I asked the guy, I said, who are these people? And he goes, oh, they take care of the school and the grounds and all that sort of thing. I said, he goes, you got 3 hours, you better do something. And they were great. We had played games and everything. They were great.
That's funny.
I know, but I mean, you can imagine it's like,
Yeah. The direction you were going was not the same.
No, I mean, I'm like, I'll just have a small heart attack and that'll take me out. Yeah, that's probably the one where I went, oh my gosh.
What about, what is your primary avocation that you like to do about, music, and why we need to assume you're talking to that politician right now that doesn't get it, that doesn't get what we do? What is your message to them?
But it's a good question, David. That's a really good question. There was a time when I just shared with them all the positive. I mean, you cannot read that advocacy stuff and not insist a child be in music. You just can't. And there was a time I pushed that at them, and I shouldn't have. I should have framed it what benefited them. What did they say? You only hear what's relevant to your perceived survival. So this wasn't necessarily relevant to their survival. It was relevant to Tim. So in the last probably 15 years, I've gone by what's important to you, and they're going, well, class attendance, graduation rates, high scores in this. So okay, we can help you with that, I think, because once they see the benefit, and then they're like, oh my gosh, if this is going to work up my, what we're after, well, get every kid in there then. But I think, don't you think most people have trouble with that? They talk about them. And if you can help an administrator be better, or anybody else for that matter, you're probably going to get their attention.
Well, you have, in my view, made a really great career of coming and inspiring people and teaching them how to be good leaders and positive, just trying to inspire them. So a lot of times you get to go and travel to a lot of different schools all over and do your thing there. So what about somebody who is off, maybe they're in a small school, they don't have the money to bring out the Dr. Tim or whatever, they have to do it all on their own. What could I do to try to teach kids about leadership? What do you think? What do you have some advice on this?
Well, I mean, first of all, excuse me, there's leadership material all over everywhere. I mean, I've written some, so have everybody else. The leadership part's pretty easy, to be real honest. The cognitive part's pretty easy. I think whoever's teaching it is the key. What does they say? The train doesn't go faster than the engine. So if you're a band director out nowhere, wherever you are, those kids are going to be behind you. So it's you that has to be the leader. You know what I'm saying? The role modeling, I still think is the most. I'm not even sure it's leadership. I think it's role modeling. You've got to know people that have phenomenal programs, just phenomenal, and then they leave and somebody else comes in and it goes down. Well, the only thing that changed was the teacher. Parking lots the same, yeah.
Right.
The fountains are the same. What changed? That the personality of the person. I think they'll go as far as we go. And when we stop, and then programs that are look, and somebody comes in and zing to the top, yeah? So it comes down to the person. And there's so much material out there you can get it if you want it bad enough.
What advice do you have for someone getting into the profession just now?
Which part of the profession? Band directing?
Any band directing, orchestra directing, choir directing, music ed, just in general.
Greatest job in the world. It's the greatest job in the world. And I hear people kind of, in fact, I was just talking to somebody, said, one of my own students said, when I go to work, you're not going to go to work. You're going to be a music educator. This is not a job. This is a mission, right? And if you want to work, go bale hay. Pour cement. That's work, right? Come to the Bach factory and, buff horns. That's work. But to get to work with kids and develop them into better human beings, and I don't mean platitudinally, just watch them grow and be better and help them and guide them and, don't go over here, whoa, you're better than that, let's get you over here. I mean, what greater gift could there be every day than to help somebody else get better? Yeah? Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I never go to work. I'd probably be a failure at work.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
For being on the program. This has been a special treat for me, and I know for our audience. So this has been an interview with Dr. Tim.
Hi, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Beyond the Clef. For more great content, subscribe on our website at beyondtheclef.com. And be sure to follow us on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, and Facebook.